The air was crisp, tinged with the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming roses. It was one of those rare, golden English afternoons when the sun cast a royal glow over everything it touched. Windsor Castle was hosting its annual Spring Garden Soiree, a tradition revived by King Charles III himself, keen to mix the solemnity of monarchy with a touch of light-hearted modernity. Among the topiary elephants, champagne trays, and chamber music, no one quite expected the performance that would become the most talked-about moment of the season. It all began with a man in a modest black suit. He introduced himself as Felix the Fantastic and had somehow secured a slot at the end of the entertainment lineup, wedged between a string quartet from Oxford and a poetry reading by a baroness with a passion for free verse. Felix was not a magician of grand illusions or booming theatrics. No tigers. No levitating women. Just a well-creased suit, a pack of cards, and, unusually, an enthusiasm for British currency. Specifically, the new polymer 20-pound note. As he stepped onto the small raised dais, guests murmured politely, their attention still half-focused on the canapés being served. Felix cleared his throat and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty," he said, making a deep and graceful nod to King Charles III, who was seated near the front with Queen Camilla, sipping from a flute of elderflower fizz. King Charles smiled diplomatically, used to odd introductions. "Carry on, sir," he said with a warm wave. Felix began simply, with card tricks that danced between fingers like minnows in a stream. He pulled a royal flush from a shuffled deck, guessed a duchess's card twice in a row, and even made a signed playing card appear beneath a silver serving tray. Polite applause followed. The king chuckled softly, clearly enjoying the break from official duties. "Please subscribe to my YouTube channel." Then came the trick. "For this final demonstration," Felix said, "I require a small loan." He turned to the audience with a raised brow. "Could anyone lend me a 20-pound note?" An awkward shuffle passed through the crowd. It's one thing to clap politely at a garden party. Another entirely to hand over cash to a magician with an unknown exit strategy. After a pause, King Charles gave a theatrical sigh, reached into the inside pocket of his impeccably tailored morning coat, and drew out a crisp 20-pound note. "This is technically the property of the crown," he quipped, holding it up with a dry smile, "so I'll expect a full accounting of it." Laughter rippled through the audience. Felix bowed deeply. "I shall treat it with utmost reverence, Your Majesty." He took the note carefully between two fingers, ensuring the portrait of the late Queen Elizabeth stared out toward the audience. Then, slowly, deliberately, he folded it once, twice, 3 times. His fingers moved delicately, precisely, like a watchmaker adjusting gears. "Now," he said, "watch closely." With a single flick of his wrist, the folded note morphed. It seemed to ripple like water, then visibly shrank, the violet hues bleeding away. When he opened it again, it was not a 20-pound note, but a 5-pound note. Gasps shot through the audience. The king squinted. "You've shortchanged me," he said, eyebrows lifting. Felix smiled serenely. But this is not the end." He folded the 5-pound note and placed it gently in the king's palm. "Hold this for a moment, Your Majesty." King Charles, sporting a bemused expression, closed his fingers around the note. Felix turned to address the audience. "You see, money is not just paper or, these days, polymer. It is promise, power, potential. And with the right touch." He turned back to the king. "It can be restored." "Let's see about that," the king said, unfolding the note. His fingers paused. His eyes widened. It was the original 20-pound note, complete with a faint crease where it had been folded. A moment of silence fell. Then the king laughed, a full, chest-deep laugh that caught everyone off guard. Queen Camilla clapped her hands together. Applause erupted from the crowd, more animated than at any moment earlier in the day. "Well," King Charles said, waving the note in the air, "that's the best return on investment I've had all year." Felix bowed once more. "I am honored, sire." But the magician wasn't quite done. "Your Majesty," he continued, "if I may, one more small feat, a test of trust." The king, still smiling, gestured for him to proceed. Felix took the 20-pound note again and held it up. "Watch closely. This note shall vanish before your very eyes." The audience leaned in. "Please subscribe to my YouTube channel." With a sudden puff of lavender-colored smoke, artfully released from a hidden canister, Felix clapped his hands, and the note disappeared. No folds. No sleeves. No trapdoor. Gone. Even King Charles blinked in disbelief. "I do hope this isn't part of a tax audit," he joked. Felix laughed. "Certainly not. In fact, you may find your reimbursement in your pocket." The king instinctively reached into his coat pocket, then paused. "No, not there. Try the left one." With a slightly theatrical air, the king reached into his left trouser pocket and pulled out the 20-pound note. The same one, judging by the crease. Now the crowd truly erupted. Gasps turned into cheers. A few members of the royal guard even exchanged looks of mild amazement. The king stood up, holding the note aloft like a prize. "Well, you've certainly earned your place here today," he declared. Felix gave a deep, sweeping bow. That night, the tabloids were buzzing. King Charles baffled by magician's 20-pound trick. Sleight of hand at the royal garden party. King's cash vanishes, reappears, crowd goes wild. Even the BBC gave it a 3-minute feature spot on the evening news, complete with slow-motion replays and a panel of skeptical magicians analyzing Felix's every move. Online, the clip went viral within hours. TikTok had it under royal magic. Twitter/X filled with gifs of the king's surprised face. YouTube channels that normally reviewed tech gadgets were suddenly dissecting polymer banknotes and sleight-of-hand illusions. Reddit's magic forums hosted lengthy discussions trying to decode the trick. One commenter summed it up perfectly. "I've seen a dove appear from a top hat. I've seen cards fly from sleeves. But I've never seen a king laugh like that." Felix didn't just pull off a trick, he created a moment. And indeed, it was a moment. One that seemed to punctuate something deeper about Charles's reign. His mother, Queen Elizabeth II, had long represented stoic dignity and resilience. Charles, stepping into the throne in a rapidly changing world, brought with him a gentler charisma, a touch of surprise, and, yes, a willingness to laugh at a disappearing 20-pound note. Later that week, a brief statement from the palace was issued. His Majesty thoroughly enjoyed the performance of Felix the Fantastic at the Spring Garden Soirée. The king's 20-pound note has been returned intact and with a bit more magic than expected. As for Felix, he disappeared as quietly as he had arrived. He declined interviews, refused sponsorship deals, and left only a simple message on his website. Sometimes the real trick is just making someone smile. And so, the trick with the 20-pound note became more than sleight of hand. It became a story of connection, curiosity, and a king willing to let a little wonder into his world, even for just a moment. Would you like a version of this formatted for blog, print, or social media use? Subscribe the channel to get such videos.